Welcome to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Learn more about the Experience community at our website, local.theexperience.video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Experience is brought to you each week by these great sponsors. The Jalot Home Team at Keller Williams Mid-Willamette Real Estate, the #1 team in Oregon, 541-451-2211, teamjalot.com. Make 2025 your best year ever. Set and track your goals with the Independent Planner. Designed for entrepreneurs by an entrepreneur. Supplement your digital calendar. Independent-planner.com. Kicking Cancer. Kicking Cancer provides support, education, and resources for cancer patients, survivors, and families. Kicking-cancer.org. And now let's get on with the show.
Hey, here we are. Welcome to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. And it is Wednesday morning here on the West Coast in Oregon. It is 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where Scott is.
It's 9:02 here, Texas Standard Time. So,
there you go. There you go. But whatever time it is where you are, we are glad you're here today. And we're so thankful for the opportunity to come out and share the experience of life and amazing people. We have Troy Karnes on with us today, who is incredible, and you guys are going to love it. So make sure right off the bat today and share this out. Let people know what's going on and tag your friends. Tell them, hey, Troy's coming on. You do not want to miss it. And so thankful that you're here with us today. Scott, what do you got going on this week?
Yeah, as we were talking about this before the Experience Live with Russ and Scott here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, we were over on Instagram doing our live, and you asked me the question, and it hasn't changed. The answer hasn't changed. I'm still following up from all those networking events I did last week, which, as we say, it's important. It's great to go to networking events, but the work and the benefit really is when you're reaching out and scheduling those appointments. I had a fabulous meeting yesterday. I've got another one coming up today with some folks that'll be guests on my show, The Waco Experience, an American Story. And so I'm looking forward to those follow-ups and those meetings.
Yeah. It's, I tell you, there's a lot of great stuff going on every week, but this week I have some big events coming up.
You do
really
indeed.
Yeah, excited about that. Have been nominated for a couple Distinguished Service Awards here locally, and so excited about that. Thanking God and my wonderful community for the incredible opportunities to be able to inspire and encourage people. That is why Scott and I are here. We talk about the experience of life to make an impact on you and let you gain value from our amazing customers, our guests every week. There you go.
We have guests. Yeah.
There you go. Hey, I want to remind everybody too, don't forget to find out more about the experience. There's a lot going on. Go to the local.theexperience.video. You'll learn about the Experience Live with Russ and Scott on Wednesdays, the Experience Local Live with Russ and Scott on Mondays. You'll learn about the Experience Backstage with Russ and Scott and Shri on Wednesdays, and the Waco Experience with D. Scott in Waco that broadcast when, Scott?
Yeah, that broadcast on KBBW here from Dallas through Waco down to Austin on KBBW radio Saturday mornings at 8:30. And then, of course, it is a podcast. You can go to the wacoexperience.com and find your favorite podcast app. You can listen to the most recent app or edition and all of that. So, yeah, it's great. It's been some great stories shared out there. And you can also learn about, if you go to local.theexperience.video, you can also learn about marketing with Russ and Russ Reels. So
Yeah, you
there's
can learn about all of our stuff going on. Very exciting. Yes. And don't forget that everything converts to podcasts. So
Mhm.
you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon if you don't have time to watch. But don't forget, we broadcast on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. They sit there forever, and you can go back and watch and share and comment and link and connect even well after the show broadcast. So through local.theexperience.video, you can connect to our YouTube page. But if you want to go straight there, you can go to the experience.video and you can subscribe today. If you have not already subscribed, go up in the top of your computer, open another tab, type in the experience.video right now, subscribe today, because there are amazing people there you don't want to miss. So with that, Scott, I'm excited. I think we should get Troy in the
Yeah,
room
let's
and get
get
things
Troy in
rolling.
because he's been guesting on some other shows, and I want to hear about those and hear his story. And we get some great learning and always inspiration.
Yeah, Troy and I had an amazing conversation. He was on with Mike Asherbrenner yesterday. Welcome, Mr. Troy Karnes. Hey, Troy.
Hey guys, I appreciate you having me on. And
Well,
it is 8:06 Mountain Time.
Yeah,
That's where I
Mountain
live.
Time.
I'm in
There you
Denver.
go.
Yeah.
Denver Standard Time. It's a
Yeah.
little bit. They say that there's a time change. Time slows down as you go up higher. So you can get more done in Denver than we can down here in the lower elevations. So tell us about what's going on in Troy's world.
You know, Scott, that's only true if there's no snow.
well,
There's nobody gets anything done here.
well,
Yeah,
Troy,
snow angels. It's all snow angels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we don't have that much snow here. The valley's pretty calm and pretty mild in Oregon, so that is wonderful. But tell us a little bit about who is Troy and what in the world are you up to?
What am I up to? Yeah, so I'm on this mission. I'm sharing the stories and the science and the systems that have really helped me get a little bit more clear and more clarity in my life. And the world is so chaotic; it's incredibly important. And so yeah, I was on Mike's show yesterday and you today, and that's what I post about on LinkedIn. It's all good vibes and mental health for me.
Yeah. Well, I think that, in all of that, I mean, we had an amazing conversation, a little more detail. So go into a little bit more detail about really where your focus is and how you're trying to help people and all you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I had a pretty wild few years leading up to now. In 2021, I got my surgeon called it a big, scary, dangerous, rare cancer diagnosis. I think that's like blackout bingo, right?
Yeah.
And so I had a bone cancer, and it ended up taking out my right shoulder blade and my shoulder joint, and I have like a whole new implant in there and everything, which was like a wild experience in and of itself. But they found it 100 days after I stopped drinking. I went to rehab to take care of a drinking problem. That was prime experience of something that would have made me set me off the cliff into a massive bender if I hadn't taken that step just a couple months beforehand. And what I share are the ways that I was able to keep myself sane and sober while dealing with that cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, I think that's how you and I originally got connected, was over the cancer. And, obviously both dealing with that, that really makes an impact on your life and really makes you a little bit more focused and intentional, right?
100%. And yeah, and you and I had an awesome conversation. I was so glad that we were able to connect because, I'm super connected to anybody who's willing to share their story. It's not always easy, but I knew one other person when I got my diagnosis. I knew one other person who was my age-ish who had cancer, and unfortunately he passed away. But I'm still very close friends with his wife, and we texted this morning, in fact. And having somebody there to say, okay, like here are the things that you're going to be thinking about. Here are the things that you're not thinking about, but you should be thinking about. And somebody who was willing to share what they went through helped me so much, and also helped my family, right? You know, Russ, you talked about how this cancer diagnosis like turns your life upside down, and it does, but not just my life, right? I write about there's a section I'm just amazed by, in a split second, how many people got activated after my diagnosis, right? Like I went into the doctor because my shoulder hurt. I didn't suspect that I was going to end up with this cancer diagnosis. And he took an x-ray, said, I need an MRI. So, right. So I make one phone call. He sends me to get an MRI. He sends the pictures from that MRI to my surgeon who's on vacation. That guy looks at it and says, come into my office. Before you know it, I'm getting a biopsy. I'm getting PET scans. I'm getting, you know, the whole machine starts going. And when you add up all of the people who jumped into action, it's hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, we have a friend, Scott Weaver, and he went through cancer diagnosis treatment, sarcoma on his leg. And he's in Franklin, Tennessee, went through a lot of that similar things with Vanderbilt there. Great teaching hospital that, fortunate, they were experts in that particular type of cancer. Yeah. So one of the things that Scott found was being able to get information for himself and for his family was really challenging. Can you talk about just your experience in that?
You're 100% right. And I was really grateful to have an awesome nurse navigator. The nurse navigators, like that, she was my go-to, the hub of all the spokes of information that were out there. And my surgeon is like the king of empathy, right? Like I take so many things from that guy, and I'm so happy that we've stayed friends through my diagnosis and everything else. But he spoke to me in a way that was no jargon. He looked me in the eyes. He took his time with me. Listen, I know that guy has a million things happening on his plate, and I never felt it once when I was in his office, right? Every time he came in, he sat down, looked me in the eye, and talked to me in words that I understood, because I didn't go to med school. And that, kind of, if you're not getting that from your doctors or your medical team, just keep asking questions. Ask them to talk to you like you're a second grader. That's what I did. So explain this to me like I'm a second grader, like I'm dumb, like I don't understand anything, and get them to reduce it into language that you understand, because the information is so important.
Yeah, right. I think that is something we talked about. I mean, you learn so much, you grow so much through the situation. And you talked earlier about activating and navigating, and I want to talk about that a little bit, because really activating the community around you, whether they are going through similar situations or have other problems. I've been blessed to be able to encourage and inspire thousands around the world through my diagnosis and through my journey, which is still happening. And it is a blessing, really. It's a blessing to be able to have that opportunity to be able to make a difference, because without the things that happen to us, they're what opens doors to people around us. And if we use them as opportunities to grow, because that's when we really grow most, is out of some of the most challenging times. If we use them as opportunities to grow, we can be such a amazing influence. But this whole navigating process and learning and growing, it can be challenging, especially for, you mentioned, the family members. I think a lot of times people don't realize how tough it is. My beautiful wife and family, I have a beautiful daughter and a son and daughter-in-law that it's been a lot for them. And so talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's really important.
Of course. It scared me so much when I got my diagnosis because I thought immediately about all the things that I wasn't going to be able to do, like I can't, I can't pick my arm up over my head anymore. And in your mind as a father, you think about the quintessential game of catch in the backyard, right? And that was going to be off the table. And just like all the other little things that I was scared, right? Fear has a way of, infiltrating your brain. And my smart and beautiful wife said, yeah, you'll just do something else. It'll just look different. It won't be different. It'll just look different. And that was incredibly touching. And those were the words that I needed to hear, because what are you doing with that game of catch, right? You're just connecting with your kid. And we've just found other ways to do that. It's also been great for us to teach the kids about like empathy and like having hard conversations. It's not an easy conversation to have with your kids when you tell them that, you have cancer, you got to go get the surgery, like it's going to be like, I'm going to survive, thankfully. But you find that kids can have those conversations if you don't try to go around them. You have it age appropriate, but you don't need to run away from that conversation. And I think that's going to help our relationship going onward forever.
Yeah, I like the advice your wife gave you. And in so many cases, things happen. You and Russ and Scott and so many people have had this diagnosis. Other people have other issues, and the way we know it, everybody has something. Everybody's got something going on, and to be discouraged about what we can't do is easy. But to be encouraged and uplifted and inspired, I'm a big fan of the Olympics. And the athletic competition is great. But what's the fun part? It's always the stories of what people overcame and how they were able to come to that point and be on the world stage. And so, Russ, you've been able to be on the world stage and inspire a lot of folks. So, Troy, tell us about some of the places that you've been able to share your story and provide inspiration.
Yeah. So, I do a handful of these are like podcast things. You talk about navigating medical, the medical world. And there's a foundation out here in Denver called the Limb Preservation Foundation. And they helped me get to physical therapy after my surgeries, which is incredibly important because the surgeons can put you back together. They can give you the potential to do cool things and have a really fulfilling life, but it doesn't guarantee it. You gotta work it out and make sure all the parts they put in me work. And they have done so much for me. I'm so grateful. So I speak at their symposium every year, which is coming up in April. We're coming up pretty close, and I'll be there again. And then I just 2 days ago finished writing a book about kind of the stories and the research and the systems that I put into place to keep myself sane and sober through all that. So that's not quite available yet, but soon it will be. And so that's where I'm sharing right now.
I found that just like you, I found such great opportunity in speaking to cancer groups, to speaking to just groups about. Well, I'd recently, before that, gone through dementia, Alzheimer's, and cancer with my parents, who have both gone to heaven. And so able to speak to groups about that too. It just opens so many doors and so many opportunities. It helps you to meet just amazing people. I'm going to give a shout out to Bobby G, who's here with us this morning, just because I love this guy. And he's in New York. He is a 9/11 hero. And I met him because of amazing friends and community, and was speaking back at a cancer conference in New York when he and I were able to get together. And those amazing opportunities to be able to do those things. But also I'm working on my next book, and my next book will have a lot more about my cancer journey in it. The first book, of course, was pre-cancer, so it had nothing in there about that. So, but it gives you opportunities to really make a difference. People, when they see that, hey, this guy going through this and still made it, still kept a good perspective, still moved on with life. And I think that makes a big difference. And you're totally that way, Troy. Really moving, keeping positive in spite of everything that's happening to you, right?
I mean, you know, I talked to you a little bit about my friend who ended up passing away from cancer. And he, after he got his diagnosis, it was pancreatic cancer. He fought a year before he passed away, but he had a mantra that, you know, I thought was cool until I got my own cancer, and then it was necessary. And that was fight cancer, stay positive. And the positivity in there is incredibly important. And because there's nothing that I can't change anything from the past. I can't change that I got cancer or anything like that, but I can look forward and I can be optimistic. And it not only helps you, it helps other people. And sharing that optimism like brings joy to people's lives. It makes you more connected. Being connected is incredibly important, not just for our brains and our emotions, but it makes us live longer. So it's, I mean, to me, being positive is everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Russ will tell you that his doctors have told him that's part of why he is as healthy as he is.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I mean, I've had a better outcome than any doctor said I would. Wow. You know, I could go, I swim for an hour. I showed a video to my surgeon of me like swimming, and he said, I don't know why you can do that. And I said, well, you're the only one who knows why I should be able to do that, right? But you know, yeah, being positive and you know, just focusing on what you can do instead of what you can't do has really helps my life.
That is so true. I love that. Focus on what you can do instead of what you can't do. You know, and I just thank God every day for the ability to keep moving forward. When I got my cancer journey, you know, went through the first part, beat the cancer, showed up again, stage 4. The outlook was not good. And I mean, the outlook still is not good, but I'm beating the odds of where things are going. And I think that is a positive thing that people look at and say, wow, life is not hopeless, even through rough circumstances. And I just love that. I mean, positive attitude or negative attitude. Where do we want to live? Well, it's not too much fun to live in the negative. So I am all about the positive. Scott, talk a little bit about, you know, you're such a positive guy. And I mean, you're on the outside looking in on cancer, but that makes an impact on people, doesn't it? When they see the attitude of people going through, no matter what they're going through, and we're all going through stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a different perspective. It's obviously a challenge for family and friends because you want to help. That's our nature. We want to help. And Troy, I'll ask you about this too, because when those of us that aren't going through this directly, we want to help. We say the right things and we say the wrong things. What are things that we can say that are helpful?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so what I'll say first and foremost is, especially when people initially get a diagnosis, and I'm gonna say that this is not just true for cancer, but it's true for any bad thing that's happening to someone in your life. I think that we all want to ask, like, how can I help you? As the person going through it, you don't always know, right? And what I'll say is just help. Just do something. You might not know it. Guess what? A gift card to DoorDash or whatever. Hey, dinner's on me. That's a great help, right? One of the biggest things that did help me, that I volunteer as soon as somebody else in my life is going through this. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna take your kid one night a week and babysit them or whatever. They're gonna play with my kids or whatever, and it's gonna give you a night to just like put your life back together. If it's clean the house, great. If it's just rest, sometimes people just need rest. But the biggest advice is just to help, just do something, jump to action instead of jump to questions, and just know that even if it might feel like, oh, what's $50 for dinner or whatever, it's more about people knowing that they have support. And there's a lot of research that says that people think that they're going to get support. It helps them be more optimistic, and it helps their health outcomes.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't end up getting the support, if they think it's coming. And the best way to see that is through actions, not questions.
Yeah,
so I would say just help.
That's called perceived support, right? So enacted support is the person actually bringing that meal over, taking your kids for the day. That's enacted support. And perceived support is just knowing that your friends are there, that if you come back and you just had tough news with the doctor, or you had great news and you want to celebrate, whatever it is, that they're there, whether you call them or not, they're there. And the research, and Troy, you're absolutely right. The research says that perceived support is more important and more impactful than enacted support. Doesn't mean you don't do things, though, by the way.
Yeah, exactly right. And it can be so simple. We had one of our friends, her mom was a nurse, so I think she gets it. She sent our kids a postcard once a week, and it just said, how's it going? Blah, blah, whatever it was. But they got a little thing in the mail. Yeah. And for a 5-year-old, getting something in the mail is so cool. And, but she intentionally took the time, wrote a little note. It probably took her 1 minute to write the note, 1 minute to throw in the thing, probably very little time on her end, but made a massive impact on us. So there's another idea. Just drop a postcard.
And it came in the mail, and it didn't have up in the upper right corner pre-sorted first class.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, I want to say that I agree with both of you. Boy, I tell you, I don't know what to add to that except for to say, being on the other end, I've always been a giver and supporting and helping other people in my life, and connecting and building community. And when I went through this, that support means more than anything. Just people showing up, people saying, hey, can I come over and say hi? My friend D. Scott Smith shows up right after my first cancer surgery, and shows up with a couple of comic books for me to read because I was laid up for weeks. And so he knows.
What does every kid need, right? You're in bed, you gotta have a couple comic books. Come on.
And he knows that. He goes, Russ is never going to be able to sit still for this long, so I better get him something to look at. But no, I mean that, a coffee card. We had people after going to the hospital, my wife and daughter and I, and we come home and are exhausted, that send us, to have a dinner delivered to us or whatever, those kind of things. Or on the other end, I've had gigantic financial miracles where people have given us a lot of support because of my inability to work and do the things that I need to do. And so what I'm saying though is that support, it's the intention and the thought and the caring that matters. Whether it is, I love the story in the Bible where the woman gave all that she had, 2 pennies. And, the Lord said this was more than, what other people give without the right intention, the right purpose. When you give with the right intention or purpose, that's what matters. And I mean, just people showing up to love on us and to just say thank you. I love the letter idea and all those things. I mean, it just means so much to people when they know the people are out there and care. So Troy, go ahead. Yeah, there we go. Stamp.
Just keep some stamps available, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's real things. There's real stamps out there still. All right.
There we go.
All right. Well, listen, I want to give you a chance just to wrap things up, Troy, and let us know, really, out of this amazing conversation today, what are your gold nuggets that you want everybody to remember today, and how do people get in touch with you?
Okay, great question. So what do I want people to remember? Here's what to remember. Nobody makes any good decisions when they're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And if you can proactively manage those things in your life, you're going to make better decisions, and better decisions lead to a better life, right? So think about that, right? And those things don't have solutions. Those are things that you're going to deal with the rest of your life. And before I got cancer, I was a guy who was fix a problem, fix a problem, fix a problem. Like I was a fixer, right? And then you run into problems like this that don't have any solution. I will deal with this the rest of my life. But then you think about it, you're like, oh, we're all going to be hungry every day. We're all going to have emotions every day. We're going to have relationships every day. None of these things, you're never going to get to the end of any of them, right? So be a little bit more proactive about it and eat before you're hungry. Process your emotions instead of bottle them. Call your friends. Don't text them, call them. You know, prioritize sleep and exercise. If you do a little bit of that and you're proactive about it and just stop looking for the fast fix, you're going to be much better off. That's been my experience, at least.
Yeah.
And where can people get in touch with me? They could go to my website. It's troykarnes.com. Karnes is Karnes. And stay in touch. Like drop your email in there. I send a note once a month that gives people something of value from my book that's going to come out, and then also a little update on how it's going. I just sent it to the copy editor, so it's going. You know,
when's the planned release?
Springtime. It depends on how long the copy editors will have it, but it should print sometime in April or May, and I'll get it like May or June.
That's great. So, that's great.
Yeah, we're coming up on it. Yeah, but yeah, well, go to my website and throw your email in there. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, that I'm telling you, everybody, that is what you need to do. Connect with Troy today, because when you have better people around you, you are better. We are better together. Jim Rohn said that we are the average of the 5 people closest to us, and Troy is definitely one of those people you need to connect with today. So, Troy, we're so thankful that you were here today, and we're gonna say goodbye to you, but hang tight in the green room for just a sec. We'll be right there. Okay,
thanks for the 1,000,000% inspiration.
I appreciate it. Good vibes, everybody.
Woohoo! All right, I love that guy.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I just these stories, and just those little things like having some stamps, maybe getting some postcards, or go down to the dollar store, your local dollar, whatever it is, and you can get some little note cards with envelopes, and keep it at your desk. And when you get that moment, you just go, oh, and you can text people and go, what's your mailing address?
Well, and be creative. If you want to make people smile, one day I open in the mail, and what is in there?
That's right. Yeah, the screaming goat.
My screaming goat from my good friend Tim Sohn is in the mail. And then it was probably a year later, I open up the mail, and what's in there? A blanket with all these positive affirmations on it. It's the softest, warmest blanket. I use it almost every day. And it is from Tim also. He sent me that just to go as I was going through, and as I was laid up. These were during my different surgeries, and those kind of things don't cost a lot, but they mean a lot. He would just send it from Amazon or whatever, so it's easy for him to do.
Well, and another great thing to send from Amazon is befuddled, live the life you choose.
There you go. That's it. If you want to,
it's right there. Just hit it and hit add to cart, and then drop someone's address in, and be a surprise.
Yeah. And, my good friend Zoraida, I was able to talk to her this week. She's here this morning, and she and James are amazing friends. We all were together back in New York, and she is a cancer survivor too, and a cancer coach. And so she's an amazing person, and you should get in contact with. Everybody, want to encourage you. The comments here are filled with people like Zoraida and Bob, people that are amazing contacts and help improve your life. And so I want to encourage you to do that today. Don't just sit here and be a non-engaged listener or watcher or viewer. I want you to engage with the people, not just Troy, which we definitely want you to engage with. I'm going to put his information up again, but also with the other people in the comments. And if you missed it, if you're just coming in at the last minute, go back and watch, share it. Make sure that people know. And if you're watching it on replay, hashtag team replay, put that down, say hi. If you missed that and you can't watch in video, this converts to audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. We would love for you to be there. And just a reminder, you can go to local.theexperience.video for all the information about Scott and I and about this show. and everything that's going on. And Scott, I think with that, we're just going to wrap things up for the day.
Yeah, it's been great inspiration talking with Troy today and yourself, and just wishing everybody a wonderful day.
Yeah, so thankful everybody that you were here today. You know, we're here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time for your viewing and listening pleasure. And until next week, get out there, enjoy life, and enjoy
the experience.
Woohoo!
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.